Blake Lively tried to blackmail Taylor Swift.
Breaking news and update regarding Blake Lively extorting Taylor Swift.
Blake Lively storms out of court after Taylor Swift leaked brutal evidence, including a message where Blake threatened to bury her with her own words.
This is Taylor confirming that this is true.
Taylor, quiet for months, played the long game. Now she's exposing Blake in one deadly move. And it's not just messy, it's career-ending.
Taylor has responded through her sources, through her PR.
It's May 15th, the courtroom is dead silent, tense like a horror movie before the scream. Everyone's waiting, probably thinking this is going to be another regular, drawn-out session of celebrity drama and legal blah blah blah. But nope, out of nowhere, Taylor Swift's team, quiet, cold, calculated, drops a nuclear bomb of sealed digital evidence.
That when something comes out about Taylor that isn't true, they're going to go to their sources. Tree Payne is going to go to her sources in the media, usually People or another magazine, and say, kind of spin another story or tell their truth, or there'll be a source that denies it.
Blake Lively's face drains faster than her career at this point. The woman literally breaks down in the middle of court, full on tears, makeup smudging, shaking like someone just hit the end button on her Hollywood simulation.
Perhaps even her lawyer will deny it. But outright, you will see Tree Payne, you will see Taylor Swift, you will see an immediate denial. They're not going to just let something float out there about Taylor and not address it, especially something this big, not just rumors or innuendos. We know that Taylor has responded through her sources, through her PR, about this whole subpoena, about being subpoenaed by Justin Baldoni.
What did she say? Courtroom sources swear she yelled, "She wasn't supposed to do this." Like, girl, what exactly did you think was gonna happen? You threaten someone like Taylor Swift and think she's just gonna sit back, knit a scarf, and ignore you? Taylor was there too. Well, not physically.
And she's saying, I don't have anything to do with this. I wasn't involved. It had nothing to do with me. She will keep putting that out there as things ramp up or another story comes out.
She was dialed in through a secure video feed, like some legal ghost haunting Blake's ego. And when Blake erupted in that meltdown, Taylor didn't even blink. Nothing. Her rep, cool as ice, apparently just said, "This is what accountability looks like." Whew. That's not a quote. That's a gravestone inscription for Blake's reputation.
Where is the denial today about the story of Blake Lively trying to extort, blackmail, whichever way you want to call it, witness tampering, trying to destroy evidence? Where is the story of Taylor saying this isn't true?
Because let's be honest, the minute that courtroom moment happened, Blake's Hollywood empire started to fall apart like a Target dress in a rainstorm. The woman who once pranced around like PR royalty just got exposed in front of a legal system that doesn't care how many Instagram followers she has. And what made her snap? The one thing she couldn't control. Taylor showing receipts.
But I've learned how her team operates, how they get information out there. And I know without a doubt, they will not let this sit and rest.
Now, let's get into this so-called leaked evidence. Because baby, it's not just some random screenshots. We're talking about redacted digital logs that Taylor's team had been sitting on like a secret weapon. These weren't printed out in crayon either. These were professional, time-stamped, court-ready logs of messages that Blake begged Taylor to delete. Way before the lawsuit hit headlines. Like, Blake already knew this storm was coming. She was prepping her cover-up a whole season ahead. Very villainous, very flopcore.
Freeman claims to have received a tip from a source who is highly likely to have reliable information. According to the letter, that anonymous source alleged that Lively asked Swift to delete text messages, to destroy evidence.
But wait, what was actually in those texts? Casual emotional manipulation, threats, and one-way friendship energy. One message has Blake calling Taylor a brand pawn. Yes, the same Taylor Swift who has billion-dollar power in her pinky. Another said Blake was planning to weaponize old texts to force Taylor into defending her, like some cheap tabloid extortionist with a glitter filter. And then the absolute kicker. Either you stand with me, or I show them everything. No turning back. Okay, first of all, why does that sound like a villain speech from a bad CW show? Second, if you're saying things like that to your so-called best friend, maybe the problem isn't her silence. Maybe it's your insanity.
Swift's lawyer responded to Lively's attorney and addressed these inappropriate and apparently extortionate threats. He adds, it is those communications that the Wayfair parties seek to obtain as potential evidence of an attempt to intimidate and coerce a percipient witness in this litigation.
But that's not all. Taylor's team didn't stop at texts. Nope, they brought audio too. And not just any audio. It's a clip of Taylor talking to Treepain, her longtime PR mastermind, saying, "She said she'd bury me with my own words." That's not metaphorical. That's Blake threatening to end one of the biggest celebrities on Earth with a decade's worth of private conversations. Do you know how desperate and unhinged you have to be to try and blackmail Taylor Swift of all people?
Where is Treepain? Treepain wouldn't let this just be out here if it was a lie, if it was false.
Legal analysts are calling this a textbook case of criminal intent. We're talking possible extortion, coercion, and witness tampering. Not little misdemeanors either. These are the kind of things that make attorneys sweat and judges twitch. But the genius in all of this? Taylor's team didn't overplay it. They didn't go full drama. They leaked just enough to burn Blake to a crisp, without making themselves look messy. It's surgical. It's silent. It's deadly. And it's exactly what Blake deserved.
Alleging that Blake Lively threatened best friend Taylor Swift to publicly support her in It Ends With Us legal battle. A lawyer for Lively calls the allegation categorically false.
Now, here's where it gets extra juicy. Back on February 14th, 2025, yep, Valentine's Day, Brian Freriedman, Justin Baldoni's lawyer, gets a mysterious 1-hour phone call from someone high up in Taylor's inner circle. This person spills the whole teapot. They tell him that Blake's lawyer, Mike Gotadl, actually called Taylor's lawyer and delivered the threat directly. Basically, post support for Blake, or we release private messages, like some creepy soap opera plot, except it's real and way sloppier.
He would not do this unless he had it, unless he had concrete proof, unless he has been told directly from the source. He would not risk his career, this case, his reputation.
And it gets better. This same source tells Freriedman that Blake had already told Taylor to delete their texts way back in October 2020. So not only is she threatening her friend, she's actively trying to wipe the evidence before the storm hits. That's not panic. That's premeditation. Blake wasn't reacting to drama. She was building the lie brick by brick before anyone even saw the fire. This is criminal chess, and Blake's playing checkers with crayons.
I mean, this is so cruel. She threatened to publicly release 10 years of text messages.
But here's the most important part. This wasn't just some tea spilled on a blog or whispered in a back alley. This came in the form of a legal affidavit. You know what that means? If Freriedman is lying, he's looking at perjury charges, disbarment, the whole 9 yards. And he still signed it. That's how confident he was in the information. He said, "I am putting my entire legal career on the line because this is real." And when a lawyer does that, that's not gossip, that's game over.
So today, Brian Freeman sent an affidavit to the judge, meaning that someone has sworn to him that the information they gave him about Taylor Swift is true. He goes into details of how he achieved this information.
Now, of course, Blake's team fired back. But instead of a measured legal rebuttal, they released a statement so dramatic it could win a daytime Emmy. It wasn't, "Here's the real story." It was, "How dare you?" All emotion, no proof, just a bunch of huffing and puffing like they thought their outrage would erase the facts. It didn't. If anything, it made them look guiltier. They sounded like they were auditioning for Real Housewives, courtroom edition. "This is a baseless attack," they screamed. while avoiding literally every single claim made in the affidavit. No denial of the dates, no denial of the call, just deflection.
They also accused Taylor of Blake of asking Taylor to delete text messages. This was the original letter that was sent by Brian Friedman. Well, Blake Lively's team was very quick to respond. I've never seen them respond so quick because this headline went everywhere.
So let's recap. Taylor leaked logs and audio that burned Blake's entire case to the ground. The blackmail receipts are out. The deletion request is on record. The affidavit is signed and sealed. And Blake? She stormed out of the courthouse like someone just told her Gossip Girl's getting rebooted without her. You cannot make this up. This woman built her career pretending to be America's quirky sweetheart. And now she's the villain of her own legal soap opera. And we haven't even gotten to the next chapters yet. Because if this is how she reacted to the first leak, what's going to happen when Taylor drops the rest?
That Blake Lively's lawyer allegedly threatened Taylor Swift and extorted her to release a public statement in support of Blake, or text messages would be released. They also accused Taylor of Blake of asking Taylor to delete text messages.
Taylor Swift has said absolutely nothing. Not a whisper, not a statement, not a repost, not even a side-eye emoji on a Swiftie meme. And for someone like Taylor, that silence is deafening. Let's be real. Taylor's been shutting down nonsense since Tumblr was still a thing. AI deepfakes? Gone in a day. Fake engagement rumors? Crushed by her publicist before you even hit refresh. But this chaos? This storm of blackmail accusations and legal drama? Not even a peep. That silence is not an accident. It's a nuclear-grade strategy.
Taylor Swift is declaring, I am nobody's dragon, girl. I am not your dragon. I've stayed quiet. I've stayed away. But girl, now that I'm getting dragged in this, you're about to get run over because I am not going to hold back.
Taylor knows how the media works. She doesn't scream. She lets the silence scream for her. And right now, it's basically standing on a rooftop with a megaphone yelling, Blake Lively is done. Taylor's silence is the equivalent of a burn book page accidentally published to the front of the New York Times. She's not out here calling Blake a criminal. She doesn't have to. She's letting the affidavits, the media, and Blake's own panic attacks do that for her. That's the power of not needing to say a damn thing, because the truth is louder than any defense.
Attached here too, as Exhibit 1, is an affidavit executed under penalty of perjury, stating the factual basis for the statements set forth in my letter. Notably, the motion is not signed by Michael Gottlieb. I noticed that too, Brian Friedman.
And let's be clear. Taylor's team allowing this blackmail story to swirl around untouched is not incompetence. It's precision. These are the same people who had AI-generated images removed from X overnight. The same people who crushed Joe Alwyn wedding rumors with a single tweet from Tree Payne. If they wanted to kill this story, it would have been dead on arrival. But instead, they've let it live, breathe, and grow teeth. That's not a leak. That's a laser-guided missile. And Blake walked right into its path wearing designer heels and a self-satisfied smirk.
During the same 14th call, the individual told me that they had been informed that 4 or 5 months earlier, Miss Lively had requested that Miss Swift delete her text messages with Miss Lively.
Let's get into what was actually in those deleted texts Blake was so desperate to bury. Because baby, when you beg someone to delete a message, it's never just catching up. This wasn't about space on the phone. It was about space between the truth and the lie. Multiple sources have confirmed Blake told Taylor to nuke those messages before the public even knew what was coming. That's not friendship. That's premeditated cleanup on aisle ego.
This is just like another level of what I thought was possible coming out of that camp.
So what was in those texts? Nothing major. Just Blake allegedly joking about dragging Justin for the press tour. Real classy. Just casual career sabotage via text message. And then there's the part where she apparently praised Baldoni on set. Yes, praised. Like, this dude is killing it, such a professional. You know, the exact opposite of the lawsuit narrative she later pushed. So either Blake had a personality transplant, or she got caught scripting her own victimhood storyline and forgot to delete the rehearsal.
counsel for Blake Lively and Ryan Reynolds, during which Mr. Gottlieb requested, on Miss Lively's behalf, that Taylor Swift make a social media statement in support of Miss Lively, given her absence from the Super Bowl that year.
And let's not forget the wildest theory that's somehow not even far-fetched anymore. That Blake had a crush on Baldoni. That maybe this whole lawsuit was her way of dealing with some personal drama disguised as justice. Because if the text really contained flirty remarks or weird confessions about Justin, then yeah, it's not just awkward, it's motive. And when you mix motive with deletion requests, it starts to smell like obstruction real fast. What we're looking at isn't just a backstab, it's a full Netflix docuseries worth of betrayal, manipulation, and desperate PR survival tactics. Blake threatened to leak the same messages she was trying to erase. That's not confusion, that's evidence destruction. It's textbook legal tampering dressed up in designer denial. And now, lawyers are sniffing around not just what was said, but why. Because in legal terms, intent matters. Blake wasn't just deleting texts for fun. She allegedly deleted them because she knew they contradicted her entire court narrative. That's not just shady. That's suspicious activity with a timestamp. And you better believe the attorneys are already crafting a case theory built around her panic.
During the same 14th call, the individual told me that they had been informed that 4 or 5 months earlier, Miss Lively had requested that Miss Swift delete her text messages with Miss Lively.
So here we are. Taylor's quiet, Blake's spiraling, friends are fleeing, and the only thing more destroyed than Blake's credibility is whatever fantasy she was living in where Taylor would go down for her. Because it turns out, Taylor isn't the pawn. She's the queen. And Blake? She just checkmated herself by trying to play games she couldn't win. People magazine used to be Blake Lively's cozy little PR pillow. Every time she blinked in a new dress or breathed near a kitchen, they ran a glowing headline. Blake bakes again. Blake's baby bump debuts. But now, they've officially dropped her like a gluten-free cupcake at a Kris Jenner brunch. The same outlet that used to defend her like she was Hollywood royalty is now reporting that Blake and Taylor's friendship has halted. That's a diplomatic way of saying Taylor changed her number and left Blake on read forever.
People magazine, who has been typically Team Blake, has now turned and says their friendship has halted. The singer wants no part in this drama. I mean, who doesn't believe this?
The phrasing in the article is almost poetic. Taylor is taking space and wants no part in this drama. Translation? Taylor would rather eat expired tuna on a Delta flight than ever be seen with Blake again. And you just know that phrasing wasn't accidental. That is tree paint excellence. You can literally hear her stilettos clacking across a hardwood floor as she types up that statement with a glass of Pinot and a legal folder thicker than Blake's ego. It's not just PR, it's war. And Blake lost before it even started.
Today, they had this headline saying Justin Baldoni's lawyer doubles down, claims Blake Lively pressured Taylor Swift for public support.
Meanwhile, the rest of the media has finally stopped playing nice. Deadline, Variety, Life, and Style, the trifecta of red carpet worship and celebrity fluff, are now openly dragging Blake's reputation across the courthouse steps. These same publications used to obsess over her every Met Gala look like it was holy scripture. Now they're quoting court documents and circling the word extortion like it's a headline category. When Variety goes from praising your outfit to wondering if you'll wear orange next season, it's over. Game, set, and federal indictment.
Because if she has been pressured and blackmailed by Blake Lively since October, she is pissed off.
And the whispers, they're turning into roars. Because the Blake Lively media machine has collapsed. Even the fluffiest outlets are now starting to talk about jail time. Jail. Time. For the same woman who used to parade around in pastel suits like she was Barbie running Vogue. It's not just one outlet turning on her. It's an avalanche. And nobody's reaching to catch her fall. And now we get to Blake's full-blown meltdown. According to insiders, the woman snapped, like mentally, emotionally, completely. After Taylor's team dropped that evidence, Blake allegedly had a meltdown on her lawyers so intense it could have been its own courtroom drama. She reportedly screamed at her team, accusing them of underestimating Swift's PR power. Girl, it's Taylor Swift. You don't underestimate her, you just pray she's not in the mood to retaliate. Blake apparently said the words, "She's going to destroy me," which, finally, some honesty. Because yes, she is. And it's happening in real time. The leaked texts, the silent treatment, the shifting headlines. Blake's downfall is a slow-motion car crash set to the sound of Swifties cheering. But instead of reflecting, instead of taking even a moment to understand how deeply she screwed herself, what does Blake do? She goes out in New York City with Salma Hayek and her sister Robin, smiling like a malfunctioning Stepford wife. That smile? It's not joy. It's panic. Pure, unfiltered, glazed-over panic. The kind of smile you give when you know the cameras are on and your career is dangling by a thread. Salma looked like she was being held hostage in a friendship she didn't consent to. Robin was the emotional support human in this whole charade. And then comes the rumor that just screams desperation. Apparently, Blake hired Nick Shapiro, the alleged ex-CIA fixer who's known for scrubbing Google results. That's how bad it is. She's literally trying to bury search engine results like this is some Mission Impossible sequel where the villain is a failing lifestyle brand. Except it's not working at all. Google is still coughing up subpoenas, court transcripts, and articles about her being iced out by every A-lister with an ounce of PR sense.
Something is put into this case, their go-to is to call everything a conspiracy theory. And they're refuting it completely and saying, listen, we didn't do this. It's totally false. And furthermore, everything that he put in there is irrelevant because he didn't even need to respond to the letter to the court.
And speaking of silence, have you noticed how loud it is with all the people not defending her? Selena Gomez? Radio silence. Sabrina Carpenter? Nowhere to be seen. Emma Stone? Missing in action. These are not nobodies. These are Taylor's people. And when all of Taylor's people collectively choose to not defend you, you are toast. That's not coincidence. That's exile. It's Hollywood's way of saying, we saw what you did, and we're not touching that mess.
And I bet you there's a part of Taylor that's kind of like, yes, subpoena me.
Let's not forget, this is the same Blake Lively who once styled herself as Hollywood's sweetheart. Baking pies, name-dropping baby names, pretending to be the soft-spoken girl next door. Now she's frantically calling in favors, staging photo ops, hiring cyber ninjas to erase evidence from the internet, and crying behind her publicist while Taylor just continues her world tour unbothered. Because Taylor never yelled. She didn't tweet. She didn't post a dramatic Notes app statement. She just dropped the receipts. And those receipts did more damage than 1,000 think pieces. Because Blake's fate isn't being sealed by cancel culture. It's being sealed by her own paper trail. The things she texted, the calls she made, the people she tried to manipulate. This isn't a PR scandal. It's a legal mess with consequences that could land her in an orange jumpsuit instead of an Oscar gown. And now that the judge in New York tossed it on jurisdiction, everything is headed to DC. That's right, federal level. Bigger court, bigger stakes.
In the court, even if it's not a motion, and if a counsel puts in a letter to the judge and says, listen, judge, this is going on in a different district, this is what we're doing.
And less room for Blake's little storybook antics. If those texts are deemed admissible in a court of law, she won't just be losing brand deals. She'll be losing freedom. Taylor's team didn't even need to say it. The evidence is screaming it for them. Witness tampering, extortion, evidence suppression, the trifecta of, you might want to start prepping a mugshot. Meanwhile, Taylor Swift is just living her life. Still selling out stadiums, still dating Travis Kelce, still making the internet break with a smile. She's unshaken, she's calculating, she's legally lethal, while Blake's running around trying to put out 25 fires with a bottle of dry shampoo. And now comes the most brutal part. It's not the lawsuit, it's not the headlines, it's not the memes. It's the fact that Hollywood itself has turned on her. This town This fake, PR-driven, image-obsessed circus has made up its mind, and it didn't take a jury, just silence. No one's defending her. No one's speaking up. No one's saying she's innocent because they know. They all know. Blake Lively isn't the victim. She's the manipulator. And the more she smiles for the cameras, the more obvious it becomes. She's not walking red carpets anymore. She's walking herself right into a courtroom. And at the rate this is going, she won't be walking back out. And if you thought this was wild, just wait, because Blake's downfall is only getting started. Hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications so you don't miss the next bombshell.